Welcome to Repair Shop Reckoning. This is part 2 with Jeff Stucki from AutoWare. So let's get right back into it, Jeff.
I just think that with everything, the way everything's upside down right now with grocery costs, everything's high. You know, people, they're not fixing their cars like they should right now.
I would agree.
I don't know what's going to change it and bring it back around, but it needs to, because there's a lot of stuff that's broken down. You see cars broke down more than ever. Cars with headlights out, you know, exhaust hanging. I see a lot more of that on the road than I ever have.
Yeah, and you obviously you're sensitive to that because it's your paycheck. You're like, yeah, go fix your taillight, bro.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, well, look at a headlight repair. A headlight bulb repair can be in the $500-$600 on some cars.
We just had a old man back in his Ford Fusion into a motorhome bumper in his son-in-law's driveway. The cheapest light I could find was $600 for the taillight assembly.
Yeah.
My cost.
Right.
I'm like,
look at some of the headlight bulbs.
yeah.
High density bulbs, and then you got to take the bumper off to replace it. You know, the guy's got $800 to replace a bulb.
Yeah, and I think another thing that we're running into is shops, and it's going to slow you down. We talked about this the other day is, hey, anybody know a cheap mechanic that can get my car done fast on Facebook? Yeah, my buddy will do brakes for $40.
That's ticked up tremendously. I see that all the time. You know, I can't afford to take my car to get it done properly. Do you know anybody that can just get me on the road? I see that all the time. I hear that. I get people calling me, hey, do you know somebody that can put a radiator in a guy's car? He doesn't have enough money to get it done at the shop.
Yeah, if they want to take that chance of getting some guy, and I'm not saying all guys that work in their shop in their garage are dangerous, but these guys have no insurance. They don't have a lot of stuff that we have to have, repair facility licenses and all that type of stuff. The state certification alone, not that it really matters, because you know what I mean, but it does. According to the government, they will hang you out to dry. Can you imagine doing a set of brakes on a guy's car? You don't have a state certification. You did it for $40 in your garage, and he goes out and kills somebody because one of the caliper bolts fell out. And the reason the caliper bolt fell out was a torque to yield one-time use bolt only, and he kills somebody. Your life at that point is over for $40, right?
Yeah.
And that's the problem where you don't have the training, the insurance, all the information you need to do the job correctly. And brakes and front end, I think them are two very important systems, but they're they always put the lowest skill.
The most do-it-yourselfers, I think, do that.
Right, and they put the lowest skill guy in the shop on it. You know what I mean? We do quality checks with us. When these guys start for the first year, they're not allowed to put the wheels back on a car or a truck or anything until it's inspected by me or Jason.
Oh, that's good.
Because, and we look up the repair procedures now on every job in the manual because you'll miss something. Like these transits, the bolt kits. Mm-hmm. How long did the aftermarket not realize?
Oh, for a long time. There's a ton of them the bolts not being replaced. That going on forever.
Yeah.
It still happens.
Yeah. You know how we found out? I freaking test drove. I did a brake job on a customer's vehicle, and I went out and drove it. And I said, well, I came back and there was nothing to drive. I said, this thing had a check engine light. I'm going to drive it down to Fleet Pride to pick up parts. And it was making noise when I got back. And I got back and the bolt was rubbing. And I'm like, I know I tightened them. And I'm like, well, then I called you guys and they're like, well, them are on-time use bolts only.
Yeah.
And that was when the Transits very first came out. And it was me and I didn't look like I should, whatever, but we learned.
Yeah.
So now, but then front brakes and rear brakes are like $4,000 on them things.
That's crazy. I know.
Replace the rotors, don't even cut them.
Yeah.
You talked about cutting
rotors and stuff. That's kind of a thing of the past.
I bet you my brake lathe hasn't honestly been ran in 3-4 years.
Yeah. I mean, I think maybe it's coming back slightly now for, trucks and things like that. And the cost of, rotors went up. During COVID, they went crazy because of shipping cost to get them from China to the United States was crazy. Rotor prices come back down tremendously since then. But, man, there was, a $30 rotor during the height of COVID was $80.
I remember.
Because the shipping cost was ungodly to get it to us.
We had so many vehicles during COVID, if you remember correctly, because we worked on fire engines and all that stuff. We had so many vehicles. We were talking about this the other day. We looked up the numbers. At one point, we had 101 vehicles on our property.
Wow, where the hell do you fit 101 vehicles?
It was stacked. The alley was full. We got to remember, the world wasn't moving, so we could double stack in the alley.
True.
We packed around all the way around the back of the building, up, and my off-site parking was packed. I remember people calling. I say, I cannot take another vehicle onto the property. You can't bring it. We had so much work.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And the prices, if you remember, we used to keep our filters in stock. I told the guys now, I go, you have to check the price of the filters every time.
Well, we're doing an oil change on a car. You almost need to look it up every time.
Isn't it crazy?
It's, how many quarts does it take? Is it full synthetic? Was a filter a cartridge or a canister? It's not. I don't know how you could have one set price for oil change.
You can't anymore. And we're struggling with that too. And then you run into the dealerships who want to do them as a loss leader, kind of like the grocery store. You're always watching the milk and eggs, right? But they get you on the peanut butter.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how the oil changes are. I mean, you figure like a 6.7 truck, diesel truck that gets an oil change and fuel filter, you could be knocking on $500 for an oil change.
Yeah.
And people are like, that's ridiculous. Well, you don't have to do the fuel filter, but you could put injectors in this thing for $9,000.
Right.
So my suggestion is put the fuel filter on it. It's kind of I don't want to say a cheap preventive, but it's preventive maintenance, right? Some of these gas things don't even have fuel filters anymore. Remember how many fuel filters you used to sell?
Yeah. We sell very few anymore. So it's a truck, diesel mostly, but passenger car fuel filters, people don't hardly change them.
Yeah,
amazing.
It is.
It's amazing.
And some of the gas is so shitty nowadays in some of these gas stations. I was talking about there's different tiers of gas. I didn't know there's like premium gas stations, non-premium gas stations. I just learned this not long ago. Been in the business forever. I never thought of it. Well, Costco supposedly sells their gas cheaper, but it's a different tiered gas.
It is. I've never heard
and it's causing drivability problems, supposedly.
Really?
That's what I'm saying. I just had BG on. I don't know if you know this. BG just hooked up with Ford and GM now because they're saying preventive maintenance on like my Yukon. Every third oil change, you should do an induction cleaning.
Direct injected motor.
Yep. Yeah. My truck started misfiring at 17,000 miles. My Yukon, I'm like at the light going, how?
Yeah, direct injection is a problem with that.
Yeah.
So now they have dual injection, which is another injector to clean the top of the valve off after it's carboned up already from the first injector. So now, so it just keeps getting on, and it's all about fuel economy.
It's crazy, and the toolage alone. I didn't ask you this, that I could ask you on the air. I don't know if you know it or not. The other day, I ordered generic tire TPMS sensors, and they said to me, "Do you want me to program before they send them out?" How the hell do you do that?
We can clone a sensor at the store. If all we need is a number off the original one.
No shit.
We can clone a sensor. Yeah.
See, me and Jason were like, I don't know about that. And I'm like,
no, we can clone one. We can clone it so we can sell it to you, and you can put it in, and it's good to go.
So, do you remember the when we used to program computers? Mm-hmm. Do you guys still do that too?
No, we it's gotten way too past that. The vehicles that we could do, they're probably not even on the road anymore.
Probably the same stuff. I was like the first
but
guy.
But we're hooked up with a company called Repairify. Repairify can program modules and ECMs remotely to your shop.
No shit.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yes, which we need to have a discussion about that. I don't think we've talked about that.
No, and I probably would.
But I mean, in your business, you probably don't run across that on an everyday thing.
My biggest updates right now are Fords. But I have IDS and IDS2 and FDRS, all the Ford that I have to pay a golly amount of money a year, but I kind of have to have it to work on the Fords.
Well, if you're a shop working on light duty and you work on everything from German cars to Asian cars, and
hell yeah, have you do it.
Man, you got to have the software is crazy. The cost of it.
Oh, really?
But, yeah. This
tell me about it.
Well, Repairify uses 100% OEM software, and they can get into the car through a pass-through unit, either your scan tool that you already have, if it's compatible. If not, we're going to be selling one that's priced pretty well, under $600, that you can hook to the car. You can hook to the internet. You got to have a hard wire from your internet provider, your modem.
Yeah.
Or if that's even the right name for it anymore.
Ethernet cable, yeah.
Ethernet cable to the scan tool, and it can be done that way.
I used to do the GM vans in 2000. I don't know if it was 1997 or it was one that came out with the new high taillights, and they put the washer solvent bottle right above the PCM. Do you remember that?
Oh gosh, there's been a lot of
the
those
GMs,
things.
And they had a different color. And I would run a cable all the way out of my office over to these vans and program the PCMs. But I think I was the first one around doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
So this Repairify, is that what you called it? So they can do pretty much anything?
Yeah, they're pretty. There's going to be a few that they're not going to be able to do, but they'll tell you up front. You know, there's some weird German things here and there that they just can't handle. But I've had customers use it already and been very impressed with it. You know, you don't have to wait for a guy to come around, because if you don't have the capability, you have to call somebody to come into your shop. You could wait 2 or 3 days, charge you $300. They program and they're out.
Right.
This is it's done right away. You get a hold of them. The one guy said the longest he waited was about 15 minutes before they started the process. They communicate very well with the shop.
Where are they located at?
Well, they have a physical location in Livonia.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so if you have ADAS that needs to be target programmed, you can take it there.
We just got an education on ADAS, and it's not out yet, that episodes, but I was absolutely shocked about lift kits and all that stuff and the impact it has on the ADAS.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's mind-blowing.
Yeah, you alter the dimensions of that vehicle in any way, and that ADAS stuff doesn't know what to do.
No, it's crazy, and it's causing people coming in with saying my car's pulling to the right or left, and it's really only because they're not staying in the center of the lane, and the car is trying to correct them, and they're fighting it. And
right, exactly.
so what other cool stuff do you guys offer? You can clone tire sensors, you could do modules.
Yeah, and we still have the old-fashioned machine shop available. Our store in Livonia, Mid-5, we can still press bearings, we can do cylinder heads, and that's a thing that's kind of not, people don't rebuild engines anymore. They just put a new one in, or a rebuilt one, or a used one.
Yeah.
But yeah, we still do some cylinder head stuff. I mean, the engines, the shop work actually is kind of maybe slightly a tick up because of the low displacement turbocharged engines that just go through head gaskets and cylinder heads. And
I'm not going to lie to you. The last time we did a head gasket, was on a 6.7. I bet you that was 2 years ago. I remember doing head gaskets like there was no tomorrow.
yeah,
We just don't see them anymore.
no, but because, and it depends on, your vehicles you work on a little different than most. But
Yeah.
a Ford Fusion with a 1.5 turbo engine in it. I mean, really, I've seen engines failing with 60, 70,000 miles on them.
Yeah.
They need a head gasket, or the head's cracked, or the head's warped. And
Isn't that crazy?
yeah.
I mean, you remember the days when a car with 100,000 miles
Oh, you
on
thought it was garbage.
This thing's all
Get
done.
rid of it.
Yeah, get rid of it.
Yeah, I remember my dad, if the car had like 80,000, he'd be afraid to take it up north.
Yeah.
This car's got too many miles. We can't go far with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, heck, 80,000.
People drive now like 300,000 miles. Don't even worry about it. Like I know Nick, the one kid that works for me, both of his Duramax have over 300 on them.
Yeah. And if you maintain them properly, you can get that. And I think that's a lot of the issue, too. People buy a car or they lease a car and they don't maintain them. Small engine, turbocharged, you got to change the oil. And the manufacturers are wrong when they tell you go 10,000 miles, 12,000 miles on an oil change. Bullshit.
I'm telling you, we had this conversation with BG.
That's not happening. You're destroying that engine. And if you change the oil 5,000 or less, 3 to 5,000 miles on a small displacement turbo engine, you probably won't have too many issues.
I would agree with
People
that.
do not do that.
I would agree with that
They do not do
100%.
that.
We had that conversation. Like, I'm in the Duramax 66 Duramax group on Facebook, and these guys are like, yo, when do you change your oil? I'm like, 5,000 miles and no more. Put a fuel filter on it. You're crazy. Obviously, you have more money than brains. And I'm like, listen, the OEMs are slowly but surely starting to back off on their 12,000
They are
mile
changing
oil
that.
changes
Yeah.
because people are putting too many miles on these cars. You know, the average car used to be 12,000 miles. My Yukon, in 1 year, I put 24,000 miles on it. That's double.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
so what am I going to do? I mean, think about it. 5,000 versus 10,000 miles.
There's no way.
I'm going to do 2 oil changes in 1 year. And the injectors are plugged, the valves are all gummed up, right? Because of the direct injection. And it's misfiring. But it's still, you can still go 10,000 miles. It's bullshit.
Yeah, I don't know where that thought pattern came from and why they did that, but
There's semi-trucks out there, they're saying 20,000, 30,000 miles on these oil changes. And it's killing them. It's absolutely killing them.
it's just impossible. It just doesn't happen. That motor's got to be. You got to keep that oil clean.
I would agree. Let's transition to talking about shops all around. What's happening in the independent repair arena with these guys that are getting older and retired. Like, for instance, here's a prime example. My grandfather, Bill Brown Auto Clinic.
Yeah.
Okay, he had it forever. He sold it to one of his
To Jerry.
To
Yeah.
Jerry. Do you see this keep going? This
Yeah, I do. I see the trend. I've been through it with the auto parts business, right? Auto parts business was owned by local guy, right? Well, he owned one store. His family owned a parts store forever, right? Individual stores. There was Joe's Auto Parts. There's Frank's Auto Parts. There's all these. And that kind of started to get really difficult to be competitive was when the big box stores start coming out, online come out. So they have to join bigger forces. An independently owned auto parts store, there's very far and few between right now. Yeah. There are some, but there's not many because the investment that you have to have in inventory to open up a parts store now and the low margin, you're better off not putting your money in a parts store. So you have to be part of a big buying group. You have to be big as something larger. And that's what happened with the automotive parts business. It transitioned to, I think AutoWares is the biggest independent auto parts jobber in the country. Okay. That's how I look at it. I mean, I think I'm probably not 100% right here, but like 300 stores.
Okay.
Right? 11 warehouse distribution centers. And we have to be on our toes to be competitive. Can you imagine owning one store?
Oh, no.
I mean, it's hard. You don't have enough revenue to keep the inventory in stock. And the parts proliferation, the new part numbers that come out continuously, you got to constantly dump money in your inventory. And they're not, and you can't send the other stuff back that easy. You got to rotate it out. You're allowed to send a certain percentage back of what you bought to the manufacturer. So it's a very tough business. And I see the automotive repair business becoming that way too. It seems like you got to have multiple shops anymore. And you don't always have to, but that's the trend that I see. We're probably a ways away from that happening yet, but I see that. I see, people buying multiple shops and having more shops for a lot of reasons. You have more buying power with your parts supplier. You have more people. So if you have one shop that's low, you can transfer people around to fill the voids. So I think that's the trend that we're headed to is.
Yeah, I really don't know. I mean, I used to know pretty much in everybody in our neighborhood. I still know a few, but I know a lot of these people are they're moving on. They're retiring. There's been several retired. I started working for Hal's.
Yeah.
Hal had 2 stores. Hal was a great operator.
Hal ran
a great shop, and
his people were with him a long time. He's
gone, and it's kind of, for me, it's definitely weird because I was a young whippersnapper, and I was looking at all
now
these
you're
guys.
one of the seniors, right?
Right.
You've been around a long time,
right? And I would hope I have a good reputation in town still of being the shop that fixes everything that comes in, because we still try. But there's a lot of shops that don't fix shit and charge a lot of money, and we get them. And I'm not even going to say it's not even some of them are the dealers we get stuff sent to.
And a lot of that goes down to having the right people, and it's hard. It's hard to get the right client or the right. You got a good thing at your shop. What you repair, you got guys that are the best at it.
Right.
Not everybody's that can have that.
Well, but think about it. Jason started 20 years ago, and probably the first 10 years he worked side by side with me because I was in the shop. And I was, me, I was a motherfucker back then.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if I could have worked with him.
Yeah, I mean, I yelled at him and, whatever, but, look at him now. But he was raised, his family is, his dad owns his own company. You go to work, I don't give a shit if you're throwing up. You'll throw up at work. And we've all been like that. And, what's going to happen here when all of us older dogs retire? I mean, I know a couple places in Wall Lake, them places did crazy business. And I've heard that, they don't do the business they even used to do, and it all depends on the guy that's running the shop. Now, they're saying when you're getting ready to sell your shops, you need to be an absentee owner, but that costs you.
Well,
unless you have the right people in place.
I mean, your shop's worth more money if it can run without you.
Absolutely.
Right? Because who wants to buy it and have to be there open to close all the time?
Right.
But you're right. In your situation, I don't know who could step in and take over what you do.
It's tough.
I mean, the stuff that you work on.
Jason obviously is going to buy the place, buy Garrett's from me. Motor City, that's not my life's work. Like, yes, I've had that business since 2010. Yes, I have
Have
it.
you had it that long? Wow.
Yeah, and that's a whole different animal. I don't have the ties to that business as I do Garrett Auto and Truck. If somebody's come in and said, hey, I'll buy it, I say, how much? Garrett Auto and Truck, obviously I have a deal with Jason because, and my son Lincoln wants to learn how to do the operations part of these two businesses. I told him, I go, you don't have to be a body man or a mechanic to learn how to run the business.
No, you don't.
You just have to know how to hire people to do what you need and pay them to do what they do.
Right, exactly.
But I think, a lot of the shops around, I mean, these guys, them because you sell to them. They're older guys. They're like, and the problem they're going to have if they didn't get picked up on the first round with the investment groups, it kind of seems like that's all slowed way down now. There's still some really good shops left in our area that could probably be sold to the investment group. Now, they're going to bundle them all up, raise the prices and stuff like that, and they're going to end up selling them probably, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I'm not sure the future plan of how that works, but, some of them has been good for us, though, too. I mean,
they're good.
They keep them going. They keep the shops going. They freshen them up. They make them professional. They take a dirty shop. And listen, you got to have a shop that's presentable where you would send your wife into and she'd feel comfortable, right? Your shop's clean. Looks great. You can walk in, bathrooms are clean. There's some of these shops that just terrible.
We've had this conversation.
And it's changed, right? So, some of these guys, they buy these shops, they clean them up, they liven them up, and they bring business back.
I would agree with the way they do stuff. They present them well. They clean them up, all that stuff like that. They raise some of them. In some cases, it's a good thing. They raise the prices where they should be, because the guy was so afraid that owned the shop that he was going to piss off Mr. and Mrs. Smith if he went up $3. He sat there and suffered, didn't feed his family, couldn't pay his bills, because he didn't charge for the service. Unfortunately, the world we live in right now, my labor rate in the last 2 years has probably gone up 6 or 7 times.
Yeah. And you don't want to be the cheapest guy out there. You don't want that work. You don't want that business.
No, you got to know where your place is in the market, right?
Yeah.
Am I the cheap guy or am I the expensive guy? Well, I'm the expensive guy, but I take care of the people, and I'll bend over backwards if we screw up, and I take care of it. And I've written some pretty big checks when we screwed shit up,
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like, it is what it is.
Yeah, you stand behind what you do. I mean, that's just how it is, and that's why you got a great reputation. I mean, you get cars, your trucks and stuff you get come from all over the place.
Yeah. So, it's our car count has gone down just like everybody else's.
Car count seems to be dwindling everywhere.
Do you want to know my theory on that?
Yeah, what?
Think about it. Think about how much longer it takes to fix a car. So we have limited, back in the day, if I was so busy, I would just put an ad in the paper and hire a guy who would come in, right, and go to work. You can't hire the guy, number one. So number two, you have 3 people. Instead of all the jobs, an average of a job taking an hour, now these average jobs take 3 hours. Your cars are not coming in and out of the door like they used to. Think about changing a headlight. I guess
that's a good point.
Think about a headlight. Headlights, I know somebody was telling me, a friend of my mom's, I don't know if it was a Lexus or something, but the front bumper cover came up around the headlights. They had to take the whole front bumper cover off and everything. It was like 4 hours to take that. And I'm like, so did you sell them all the bulbs when you had it out? Well, the guy didn't want to buy all the bulbs. I'm like, that's a dumbass.
Yeah, right. You got the labor already. Change the bulbs.
Change all the bulbs. So I think that we can't get this stuff in and out fast enough. And here's another thing that we're running into. Not you guys, but a lot of stuff you guys just don't have in stock. Not all this. You're a lot better than you used to be. You understand what I'm saying?
I do, and you're 100% correct. We're changing, and we're in a process of changing right now to get more inventory at the street level. AutoWares is probably one of the best at inventory, but we have it at the warehouses and the DCs and this and that, and I can have it in 2 hours. That 2 hours don't work anymore. I need that part now. And if you're online and you're looking at a multi-seller network that has all the suppliers listed, you might not wait that 2 hours for us to get it from our distribution center. You see the next guy's got it in stock. You're not your normal supplier. It might be more money, whatever, but they have it, and you're going to order it there so you can get the car out and move on to the next one.
Yeah, and another place where you guys are really getting hurt is the zip ties, the tapes, the butt connectors, all that stuff you used to sell. Just because I was just used to calling you and I'd be like, "Send me this." Amazon could have it there in 2 hours at a fraction of the price. Am I saying?
I'm glad that I don't see a lot of that. Yeah. I don't see a lot of that, and people not doing that, which I'm happy for. I still write a lot of old fashioned stock orders for weird stuff like that, right? I still do pretty good with that stuff.
That's good. That's good. But you're going to probably, hopefully, as you retire, all that stuff's going to go away anyway. So it's really going to be no skin off your teeth. I know as bad as that is to say. I mean, honestly, your job is probably when you retire. You really think they're going to replace you?
I
Do you know what
I
I mean?
don't know. I'm not sure what. That's a tough call.
Well,
I'm not sure how it's going to all play out.
Let's do this. We got time here because you don't have to leave for another 25 minutes. What if you were Jeff and you're in Autowares and you're looking at the way the world's changing and you got this guy that makes the money you make and you look at him and go, well, when he retires, do I really need to replace him? What do you think's going to happen? We just put a call center together. We could have a couple people in there. You might want to do that.
Well, I know, and that's the change from the business being. Then you have to be. It's all about price at that point, right? So you got to be if you can be the cheapest guy on the street. Do you need us? No, probably not. If people are just gonna, it depends. But right now, there's still year-round. There's still a huge part of my customer base that they rely on me. It's a relationship business. I'm still banking on that. It's gonna be for a while. What's going to happen in 10 years from now with that? I'm not sure.
Not your problem either.
I don't. Well, it's not, but listen, I love this business. I've been in it my whole life, right?
Yeah.
I hate to see it go away, but look at the guys that ran printing presses in the days and stuff like that. Those jobs they're gone.
Yeah, my grandpa was a photo engraver.
Yeah, what the hell?
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, so as you know, I had that conversation with Phil. I'm like, dude, I said, stop buying. Do you remember when you came in? You're like, hey, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know, Phil. What do you? Well, so and so has it cheaper. I don't give a shit. I can't call so and so and say, hey, I have a problem. They won't handle it. Jeff will. Remember that whole conversation? I'm like, call
Absolutely.
him. Okay, I am a relationship guy as you are. Okay, if I call you, good or bad, you take care of it one way or the other.
Right.
That people don't understand that, and the other thing, people don't necessarily care about relationships. They will throw you over. I don't know how much they'll get rid of you.
I guess it depends on the people. I'm going to say I'm fortunate. I have a great, probably the best group of customers in the business, that at least in my eyes. I got great customers that pretty loyal to me.
That's a good
but
thing.
I can see the younger crowd coming in. It doesn't mean as much to them.
That's what I'm
really
saying.
Don't. You're right. I mean, it's like, wow, this guy can get it here 5 minutes quicker and he's $3 cheaper. I'm just going to order it there.
And the other problem we got going on is people like to do it from their computer. If they do it from their computer 90% of the time, they only talk to your guys 10% of the time. I used to talk to you 100% of the time.
I know.
Talk to your guys 100% of the time. I knew what was going on with Jim Maroney. I don't remember the other Jim's name.
I can't think of his name, but boy, he retired probably 10 years, 15 years ago.
But I could talk to them. I knew. They would be like, oh, hey, what happened this weekend at the soccer? Like, you knew you could have a relationship. And then when you were shitty with them, they didn't get all flamed out. They're like, yeah, he's just being an asshole because he's having a bad day, right? You can't do that to these new people nowadays. They get all hurt.
Well, they don't like to talk to anybody on the phone. It's all, the online thing is good and bad.
The communication is a problem, and I said this in my previous podcast. I get people to come in and drop off a truck, and they don't even know how the hell they got there. They don't know their boss's name or number. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
How did you even make it to work today?
I know.
Do you have a Tesla that drives you there? Because I don't know how this works,
Yeah.
So, in closing all this stuff up, the online Amazon has to really impact a lot of what you guys have done. And I think, the people that are running Autowares have been pretty smart about trying to combat a lot of that stuff. And I know we used to have them phone calls during COVID and stuff like that because you guys just hit the shitter as far as your sales.
Yeah.
And
in our area, in the Detroit area. Some of the other areas that we had actually were never even phased them. Some of the outlying areas with farmers and stuff like that, where their business was agricultural and things, It didn't phase them at all. In our industry, where we're at in the Motor City, it hit us harder than.
Well, all the plants were closed down, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you had the auto workers that really weren't, regardless of how we all feel about it, we're pretty dependent on the big three. Well, it's the big two now, really.
Yeah,
I mean, who
right.
knows about Chrysler? But, they're rebuilding Detroit. There's a lot of money around there, and everything kind of stopped. And I think people came to now. This year, I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, about the second week of October. Yeah, about the second week of October, we got real quiet. You remember? I'm like, holy shit. Like, I think the election, for good or for bad, I don't really give a shit what people's opinion are. Everybody knows what my opinion is. People stopped and hung on to their money. They're like, okay, we need to see what's going on with this election.
Yeah.
They were truly scared.
Agree. 100% agree.
They didn't know what was going to happen.
But the election's over, and it still doesn't seem like it loosened up.
I think people are waiting until Monday.
Do you think so?
I've had several people say to me, we're put on a hold. We want to see if this actually happens the 20th. That's what people are saying to me. We run about between 42 and 55 vehicles on site at Garrett's pretty much all the time when we're busy. Like, we'll finish, but we'll get 6 or 7 vehicles in a day. The body shop, you could have 3 vehicles in there. The size of jobs we do, it could be 3 months worth of work.
Yeah.
So
I
get it. We get around 20 in the 20s at our Motor City. We're doing really good.
Yeah.
We just now cracked 30 yesterday vehicles at at Garrett's. So think about it. We're a little bit light too.
Yeah. Yeah. When you had 100 vehicles at one time on your lot, now you're down to 30.
Yeah. And people forget too that they're like, oh, yeah, but look at my numbers. Yeah, because your labor rate's higher. Your parts prices are higher.
Yeah.
Where's
the
your
average
margin?
tickets went up.
Yeah, our average ticket went up too, but our margin went down.
Yeah.
Because you only can charge so much.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You don't want to price yourself out of the business. I mean,
right. Do you talk to people about that? Like, do people complain when you're in shops around town? Like, man, I can't sell this stuff, or,
Yeah, I do hear it. There's
Tell me
a
about
lot
all
of
that.
no's. I hear a lot of people that present a job to so they estimate the vehicle. That's $2,500 repair, and they don't get the full job. They're like, well, just fix what's the thing that needs to be done so I can drive the car safely, and the rest they just put off. It's just a lack of, I don't know, household income is just the cost of just living right now is, I think the cars are getting put on the back burner. Everything, the food to feed your family is higher than ever.
Yeah, and you get people that are, they're still making the same thing. They don't get a raise, and the cost of everything just keeps going up, and up.
Right. And it's hard when margins are shrinking. Everybody wants more money, but the margins shrinking because we want to be competitive and we want growth. I mean, don't get me wrong, we're still doing tremendous volume. We do great, but it's flat. The business is just kind of flat, humming along. We need that burst of growth. We got spoiled with that after COVID let up and everything was shut down. And when it opened up, oh my God.
It was pent up demand.
It was crazy busy. And guess what? That's the numbers that we're trying to fight right now, though, too.
Well, that's kind of thing. It's like the U.S. government when they talk about their budget, okay?
Yeah.
Their budget was built on last year's numbers, which if you go back to COVID, that started, our budget was on COVID numbers. So it just keeps going up and up.
Yeah, I know. I get it. But you have to have growth to keep moving forward.
I would agree with that.
We want more locations. We want to keep expanding. We got to have growth.
I see your biggest problem is our biggest problem. I was going to buy that other shop, if you remember correctly.
You had that for a while.
I had it for a month. And once all the lawyer stuff came back and the UCC filings and all that and found out that they owed everybody and their brother, IRS, state of Michigan, everybody, I'm like, oh my God, run. But think about that. I would have 3 shops right now, and I would be like, okay, who would be staffed there?
Yeah, that's the problem.
Okay, so if you want to open 10 stores tomorrow, okay, we're 200,000 mechanics, technicians short right now in our industry. 200,000. Where are you guys? If you needed to hire, if somebody put a gun to your head and said you need to hire 10 countermen, what do you do? I mean,
You got to steal them from somebody.
well, you go to a family function or anybody, and you're trying to hire your family. You're looking at the,
Yeah.
hey,
I
you
mean,
know anybody that wants to do this? Or like, no.
It's same as business now. We got to steal it from our competitor because there's not a lot of new growth, not a lot of new shops opening right now. It's kind of stagnant. So we have to go out and fight our competitors and take their business. That's kind of what the mode we're in.
Well, I've had these salesmen come in and they promise you and this and that and other thing. I had that one guy come in and he started talking. I called you. I'm like, who is this guy? You're like, he used to work here and there. And I'm just like, this guy's so full of shit. His eyes are brown.
Well, they hope that they can do that on a quick, easy sale, right? Let's make like a used car salesman. Let's be quick. But to gain a customer for a length of time like me and you've been doing business, nothing happens quick.
No.
It's all done with, listen, you got to be there at the right time. You got to help the guy when he needs your help. You're not going to get the business right away. It's just not going to happen.
No.
It takes time. And my sales approach is different than most. I try to be there and make myself a partner with the business, help them with their issues. I'm not there always trying to pitch on the next greatest thing out there.
No, when you do bring them guys in there, it was good information. When you brought the guys from Bosch in, they were cool. They had good information. They answered my questions. You'd never have brought me somebody when I started asking questions and they can't answer.
But
like,
I
get the hell
actually
out of
easily
here.
could because there's tons of opportunities where I have like, hey, I want to go ride with you. I want to do this. I want to do that. And then say, well, what do you have to offer first? Because your time's important, and I don't want to be the guy to take away your time with something that you're just going to say, well, that was a waste of time. And I don't want to be that guy. I just rather try to be above board, do things right, build a relationship with the customer by doing the right thing and helping them when they need you.
The other guy I have a relationship with, I had a relationship with this guy since I've been 12 years old. And I'm 54, Pat at O'Reilly's.
Is he still there?
He's the manager now. He's the last standing guy of Nobody
That's
Auto
true
Parts.
because Dale came to work for us.
Right.
And Pat stayed there.
And I know
What is he? Does he do outside sales or what does he do?
he's pretty much seems like he's there all the time. He's a
Manager?
One guy that's smart.
And is he the manager?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's been there, what?
We tried to hire that guy.
He worked for Skip.
Oh,
and
my
Skip's
God.
husband.
Wow.
And here's another one. Dan's next door. That guy was awesome. His health failed him. I mean, that place is hanging on.
Yeah, they're still there.
Yeah, but it's kind of funny. There was Nobody Auto Parts at one time. It was that, and that was Milt down the street, and that was it around us. I grew up in Novi.
And then you had Glendale come in.
Remember
right?
RPM? Remember RPM at 10 Mile?
I do.
Rick and Murray.
Yeah.
Them guys were around forever. They were really good at starters and alternators. Remember?
Yeah.
All them guys are gone.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes me wonder about that Steven Seagal movie when you talk about the guy that went from, down the neighborhood and he had the shopping cart and he sharpened scissors and knives. And one day, the knives came out, that disposable knives and stuff, and at that point, he just kind of went home and died because I don't have a use in the world anymore. That's kind of happens to some of the businesses that are hooked to our business. Don Duff.
Yeah.
Don Duff he had to
Yeah.
have making a killing if he was doing it right.
Well, if it was up to the automotive manufacturers, that would happen and you would be out of business. They
Yeah.
try their hardest to hold information back, whatever. We AutoWares and guys like us, we go to fight for that, the Right to Repair Act.
Oh, it's horrible.
I mean, it's a huge problem.
They've gone so far as removing dipsticks from transmissions and shit.
I know.
So the customer's not allowed to check his own freaking oil on his engine? Well, you have to take it to the dealer, and we're booked up for 3 months.
Yeah. But try to repair a Tesla in your shop. You can't get the information that you need to.
No?
There's certain things you can, but they don't want to give up that
That's
info.
a good point. Let's talk about EVs and stuff like that. How do you have any shops that are trying to get into that market?
No, I really don't. I have some that will do hybrids here and there. Everybody's touched on it, tried to learn it. It just never. There is not many EVs coming into shops for repair. I mean, there's not that many on the road, and they're still under the ones that are on the road are under warranty, so they're going back to the dealer.
Well, my friend has a Tesla. He absolutely positively loves it. Lincoln does a monthly, and Lincoln's business, he does a monthly cleaning of it. Lincoln loves it. Whatever.
I guess it has the purpose, but if that's your everyday vehicle that you use every day and you travel far for work or whatever, it's just not practical.
How many miles a week do you drive? Do you know?
Well, I probably do a 200 a day,
Yes.
sometimes a little less than that.
So
I would probably work, but
you don't want to be driving home with an eighth of a battery. It freaks me out with my cell phones, Loki. Imagine your car flashing
eighth
red.
of a battery, and all of a sudden there's a traffic jam, right? And it's 20 degrees out, and it's snowing, and
It's like
traffic's
turn off
in your-
heater, Jeff. Save.
Yeah, I don't want to deal with that. I want to be able to put gas in it and go. And not to mention, I put too many miles to lease a vehicle, so I have to buy it.
Right.
That's a bad investment. An electric car, how much is it going to cost you in 10 years when that battery, or 5 years when the battery takes a dump on you?
No, and I would agree. And here's
Or
another
the
problem.
inverter or whatever.
Here's another problem. There's no training available for these electric cars.
And they go back to the dealer for a repair.
Yeah.
So your repair is ungodly through the roof.
And think about state certifications. Okay, they can't even get the state certification test. I talked about
Is there
this.
one available for
No,
EVs?
no, and they remember, like, I think it was last year or whatever, they changed the tests because they were still running the tests when I was coming up. So I would go take them tests, and I'd be like, no problem. Like, this is the shit I
Yeah, they
worked
still
on.
have drum brakes and stuff on
Right,
the
talking
test.
about
I
wheel
mean,
cylinders and all this shit,
yeah,
right?
I hear a lot of young guys complain about that when they took the test. They're like, there's shit on there that's not even on cars anymore.
Right, and so now they kind of hybrid it. They left some of the old stuff, but they put new stuff on. So we've been working our guys through getting everything, but there's nothing for electric cars. So how can you even? And I listen to all the podcasts where they talk about the safety hazards. Do you know when these cars catch on fire? The fire department has not figured out how to put them out. What they do is they cover them with a blanket, they
let
haul
them
them
burn
off
down?
site, and they let them burn.
Yeah, because you don't know what to put on it. It's lithium, right?
Yeah.
Battery. And, and the first responders, somebody's trapped in the car. Where do you cut the car open at? They have to be trained on that, too. They get
Not get electrocuted. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's just, I think we put the cart before the horse.
How
on
many
that one.
times has the electric vehicle been pushed and it fails?
Yeah.
A long time. It's happened years over years.
Well, years ago, we had a fleet that tried the hydrogen setups on 4.3s. It worked.
Yeah,
I was
hydrogen.
shocked. They killed the guy who invented hydrogen.
I think that's probably, yeah. I agree.
I was like, holy crap. Like, they had two, and they ran.
Yeah, and it's water coming out the exhaust pipe.
Yeah.
How environmentally, that's more environmentally friendly than an electric EV. Because what do you do with a lithium battery when it's no good?
Right. Did you
bury it in the ground?
Yeah. Did you see the freaking mines? The pictures of the mines where they're doing lithium. I was like, my God.
That's crazy.
Well, that new show Landman, when they're talking about petroleum-based
I love
stuff.
that show.
But you see when he's talking about the road, how he gets there, the windmill, how it was built, the oil that's in it. He's like, lady, everything you touch has oil in it. Your lipstick, you're like.
Yeah.
He said which I don't know, I didn't even look it up, but if we started today, it would still take us 30 years to even get a fraction of the infrastructure that needs to be done right now in America for everybody to have an EV.
Oh yeah, we couldn't support that right now. It'd be unbelievable.
I can't even.
You can't even keep your power on. I mean, when in a storm, right?
Right.
What are you going to do if everything is EV and it's electric ambulance and fire trucks and they're all electric and you couldn't charge it for 3 days because you had no power? What do you do?
Yeah, I will tell you that's bad. What's badass is like what's changed our industry though is power hand tools, Milwaukee's and this battery powered shit.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But that works because it works better.
Yes.
Because it works better than plugging an air hose in. And it's, yeah. I agree. Yeah, we sell air tool sales. Yeah. But electric hand cordless tools, amazing. That's the way to go.
Milwaukee has just came out and they have just
Sell
kicked
tons of that
everybody's
stuff.
ass, and they make some good shit that works.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, thanks for coming on, and I hope
Thanks for
everybody
having me.
enjoyed the show. Take care.